What's up, my motocross loving rascals? So, the official Lucas Oil Pro Motocross video game. Sorry to break it to some of you guys, but this is not an announcement. This is just I don't know how in the hell they didn't make this game. I don't know. I mean, it really mind baffles me how they go from making a official Monster Energy Supercross game to MXGP Pro. Like, it actually makes no sense when you really sit down and think about it. If they were going to go down the route of trying to get into the US official racing with Monster Energy Supercross, everything's full-blown official, then why wouldn't they go in there and have an official nationals game? It just does not make any sense. Man, I don't know. I feel like Supercross and motocross in the United States, they really do go hand in hand. They're almost like the same kind of series. I mean, they really are. Like, it's one of those things where most of your pro riders in the United States, they race Supercross, Monster Energy Supercross, and they race Lucas Oil Motocross, and that's pretty much all they race. Like, that's sort of the pro racing in the United States. You understand what I'm saying? That's what it is. So I feel like when you talk about making a game that's trying to make replicas, it really makes more sense to have both of those in one game, in my opinion. It seems like, could you imagine how much better this quote-unquote official Monster Energy Supercross game, whatever you wanted to title it, would have been had it had a replica Redbud and a replica Southwick and a replica Washougal? Could you have fucking imagined how amazing that would have been? I mean, that would have been so cool, man. I would have been so much more lenient on that game. All the way around, I would have been more lenient had it had that in the game. I wouldn't have said a single word about the price of it, about any of that kind of stuff, if it would have had those replica motocross tracks in it too. It just would have been so cool to have that sort of game. And when you talk about that, like, replica motocross game, like that NBA 2K style motocross game, doesn't it just make more sense to have Supercross and motocross in the same game? I mean, am I the only one that thinks that out here? Fuck. Like, it seems like I'm the only one that thinks that, because anytime I say, oh, the official Monster Energy Supercross game should have motocross tracks in it, I just get, the random hate action going on, and I just don't understand people. It's like, I'm not trying to be ungrateful. A lot of people kind of think that. They think that anytime I disagree or say that wasn't enough in a game or whatever the case may be, they think I'm just being this, like, ungrateful, you can never please me, it's never going to be good enough. They start kind of going down that road with it, and that's just not the truth at all. It's not like, I'm telling you, dude, if they would have just had both of those games combined, I would have never said a word about the pricing, about the not enough content. Would have never spoken a single peep about that. If it would have been $60, I would have never spoken a word about it, man. Because that's genuinely what I feel deep down belongs in any motocross game. I'm not just talking about like a milestone game or whatever. I'm talking about any game out there. And I've thought that from way back in the MXGP days, from when they started releasing those games. I was thinking, dude, and they started kind of doing that. Was that MXGP2 where they kind of added that, like, Stadium Cross series or whatever the hell that was? It was almost kind of sort of like Supercross, but not really. The jumps were, like, super easy. They kind of tried to start to add that in there, because I feel like even the developers realize, like, dude, that belongs in a motocross game. Supercross, motocross, they go hand in hand. They're kind of like the same series, but not the same exact series. It's very difficult to explain that. But either way, I mean, as far as, like, how the tracks and all that kind of stuff would be on an official Lucas Oil motocross game, I think it's just important your skill gap is going to have to come from your corners and your roughness and they might potentially, you know, get into adding ruts on the jump faces of some jumps on certain tracks with certain kind of dirt. Obviously, you want to kind of change that up a little bit, but I feel like with a lot of those MXGP games, those being, you know, motocross only games, it just kind of gives you that feeling like you're just on the throttle everywhere, and there's not really a whole lot of lines on the tracks. I feel like if Milestone ever does go down this route of an official Lucas Oil motocross game, they have got to make ruts like this right here. You see this? Where it's like, fucking, what is that, 4 ruts in a corner? Like, yes, dog. That's exactly what motocross tracks should be like. 3 or 4 ruts in every single corner. You can have one corner that's a little more smooth, but you need to have either make your terrain deformation to where it makes that many ruts, or make some of your tracks have pre-made ruts that are like that, because I feel like that's a big reason why the MXGP series has struggled so much, is just simply because the bike does not react over the roughness, and there's really not any inside ruts on those Milestone games. You know, they have suffered not only in a physics type of sense and a bike movement type of sense, but also their track design. And they really do go hand in hand. Like, you can't really make big roughness and big jumps if your physics isn't very good, because then it's just going to look crazy and the bike's going to be just flying and flipping and flailing all over the place, and it's not going to look good at all. So it's like, with Reflex, it having such good physics, you really do feel like you're feeling every single bump on the track. You feel like you're constantly running over some sort of roughness, and it really does give you the feeling of like the bike gets out of shape. If you just hammer it into a corner wide open through braking bumps, it's going to get a little bit out of shape. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, but that's the actual skill to a motocross track, is the roughness of it. If there was no roughness on motocross tracks, it really wouldn't be all that much of anything. I mean, that's everything to a motocross track. And with your Milestone games, there's really not hardly any roughness to speak of. I mean, there just really isn't. So, yeah, man, that's basically my opinion on it. We could definitely see it in 2019. I'm really doubting we're going to see it in 2018 now, because they're kind of doing the MXGP Pro thing. But we could definitely see either, like I'm saying, a combination of a Monster Energy Supercross game and official Lucas Oil motocross game in one game in 2019. That would be the absolute best case scenario. Milestone, if you're watching this video, dude, I will give you mad props. I'm talking mad dog props. Mad dog 2020 props, dude, for sure. If you will go and put both of those games together, oh my gosh. Now, where that's going to get tricky is, you know, Monster Energy Supercross is sort of a different, like, kind of, I don't even know the right word for, different affiliate than the Lucas Oil Motocross. Obviously, they're like, it's like a different sort of like main title sponsor and stuff like that. So I don't know how easy it would be to put both of those games together. Basically what I'm saying is, I don't know what kind of legal issues they would run into with the title sponsors of the Monster Energy Supercross and then the title sponsors of the Pro Motocross. You know, I don't know if those two things would kind of clash if you try to put those both in the same game. Do you understand that? Like, that may be the kind of issue they're running into, but if they're running into that issue, I guarantee they would have just put motocross tracks in the official Supercross game anyways, and they've done that with DLC at this point. So it is possible to put motocross tracks in the official Monster Energy Supercross game. That's possible. Now, putting official Lucas Oil motocross tracks in with an official Supercross game, that's where it gets kind of tricky there. I don't know how possible that really is, because they have to get sort of like a licensing type of deal from, you know, Monster Energy. Like, they're directly partnering with the actual Monster Energy Supercross in real life to make the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're actually directly partnered with those direct sponsors. So, I don't know how they would do that, you know, being directly tied in and sponsored with the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. I have no idea how they could even go about doing it. It may not be as big of a hiccup as I'm kind of making it out to be, but it may be at the same time. Because, I mean, I know it gets very, very kind of sketchy and specific whenever they get into those licensing deals. It's like you can't, like, for instance, if it's not titled the official Monster Energy Supercross game, if it's titled like I don't know, Motocross Pro Motocross Supercross 2019 or whatever, then all those license and sponsors from official Supercross are going to feel ripped off because it's not titled Supercross. You understand what I'm saying? Like they just kind of, it gets very very like read the fine print type of shit. So I don't know if they could ever do that, which really sucks because it would be cool to see that sort of game where you can carry over like all of your skill that you have in one of the milestone games between the motocross and supercross series, real life North America Supercross series of whatever year they had the game for. You could kind of carry over your skills that you've gotten that certain year into Supercross and Motocross. I think that would be so cool for the fans to have a game like that. And, that you're going to have different tracks and different years and stuff like that. And as far as like milestone goes, I almost feel like that would be their best bet. Instead of making multiple games, just go in there, make a like a motocross, supercross pro official game combination, and come out with one, every 1 year or 2 years, and really, really improve your physics every single game. Really improve your track content. Go in there and put not only the replica tracks, but you could add more supercross and motocross tracks. Like, you could have like a random big supercross track, really hard supercross track, or some big jump, random biome style motocross track, or whatever the case may be. Have some cool little random tracks in there like that, and have your track editor in there for the motocross and supercross. Do I have to really sit out here and tell these game companies how to do it, bro? Come on now. It's just like the amount of money they would make off of that and the longevity. See, what longevity creates is it's just better for the culture. That's what a lot of people forget. Like when people say, well, we want another motocross game. It's good for motocross to have more motocross games. I don't necessarily believe that. I think it's better for motocross to have better motocross games. The sort of quality over quantity, I feel like, is a very important thing, and it's kind of one of those things. Like, I mean, you could come out with 7 shitty motocross games or one really good one, aka Reflex, and you're going to have the same amount of longevity, same amount of purchases, same amount of everything, but you put in, just one game out versus having to go through all the trouble of coming out with 5 or 6 games, and you got the same difference there. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion on it, but yeah, man. Either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.